All started since I was born. I apparently was born with an anxiety disorder, plus emetophobia. That consists in being afraid on everything that comes with vomit. I mean on a high level. When I was a child, I could not stare at someone throwing up because I would have a panic attack, and if I felt something on my stomach, a minimum ache, it could result on a panic attack. Because of the combination of the anxiety disorder and the emetophobia, I could have reached the record on panic attacks in a year. I mean, on my peak, that could be like 20 panic attacks on a year, and a lot of times nearly to get one. Nevertheless, the emetophobia is not all. My anxiety disorder makes me question everything, on existential levels. I consider myself as an intelligent person, not just because of my academic awards, but because the way I see the world. I won bronze medal on the Mathematics National Olympics of Costa Rica. On that year I was the only one on my province to get a medal, and be finalist 2 times in a row in Biology Olympics, being my least favorite science in the world. I took these Olympic exams without any preparation, just the one that I got at my high school. This high school was one of the most important in the country. It was a scientific high school, also called pre-university high school because it prepares to you very well to go to university, but it consisted on just 2 years of my life. In this high school I got to know the person with the most beautiful heart in this earth. I mean, she was studying mechanical engineering and had to change the career of social work because she discovered that she just want to live by helping other people in real needs. This is my actual girlfriend, and I love her very much. I'm 22, she is 21. After high school I got to do exams to enter to the public universities at Costa Rica. On University of Costa Rica, UCR, got a 683 800ths. This means that I could study the engineering, and that was my objective. Well, I started university, one of the most important objectives I had in life, because I always knew myself, and the high school was so boring to me. Because of how easy and unnecessary classes taken there because of the academic system of my country, even if it was a scientific high school. When I started at UCR on 2020, I started with mechanical engineering, but as it happened to everyone, boom, COVID-19 pandemic shows off. Okay, I said, I will get advantage of this situation, so I got 59% of my credits in just 2 years. At this university this was so complicated because of the difficulty on all courses. Well, after all I got a lot of hard work put into this project. Pandemic is gone, so I need to change my home from my house to the capital of my country, where is UCR. At the same time discovered weed, and I just love to smoke weed. It chills me off a lot of my existential anxiety. After 1 year leaving by myself with my brother and a roommate in a house that was too big for us to maintain it clean, I never had lived by myself. It was very difficult to adapt to this lifestyle where I needed to maintain clean the house and get to study, now not general courses but career courses that had me involved all my time. And plus just discovered weed and smoke with my brother and roommate all days. I am informed about weed. I know is not good to get all days, but I just assume the consequences. So after 1 year of university living by myself, I passed a 10% more of my credits, leaving me on 69%. But as I told you, this university is really to the hard work students. The next year I didn't pass any courses because of how boring the university courses, didn't even went to classes. Man, I realized that I don't want to study anymore. I just want to work. But now with my low grades at UCR, I barely get to enroll 1 or 2 courses per semester, and that was just stressing me out. I mean, now the only thing I want is to work on my career, but can't without a title, and I can't have it now with low grades. Well, to not waste a lot of time, I get to have German at basic level A2, then got bored. Because I hate to learn new languages, classes to me are just too boring. After now 3 years on UCR with low grades, I got a good idea. Meanwhile I'm enrolling few courses at UCR. I will get another career in the best private university on the country on Electronic engineering, of course paid by my parents. My parents are very wealthy, thank God. I don't like to say this out loud. I just hate that I can't pay for my stuff because I can't work. Oh, important thing in my country, to make important quantity of money you need to study to get a formal job. Nevertheless, my parents, that is what they are living for, and they love it, and I love them for that. Well, me in my new university, assistance to class is obligatory, so I have to go all classes. Nice but boring, because I couldn't validate all courses from UCR, but okay, I will take those courses. Now, 4 and 5 years later, thank God I'm on career courses and it is finally getting interesting, but still little bit boring. For example, at the moment of me writing this, I am in a programming class using Java at or intermediate, doing nothing because I understand it at first sight on seeing the slide on the board, and then the teacher talking about that for 10 minutes. I mean, do you get how boring it is to me? Okay, so I got on this new university because it has agreements with important entities such as Intel or Microsoft. So when I get to do my practical hours, I could go to one of these companies and get important curriculum. And because it is quicker to get your degree, now I'm at now 4 years later, my parents got a super offer and bought a apartment at the capital of the country, where me and my brother study, so we get to left behind our roommate, who is friend of mine since 7th grade. That hurt a lot. Previously we were threatened to change of apartment because of the weed problem with my parents. That is a baby boomer problem with no solution more than time. But still we smoke without my parents knowing. They will just not accept it. So I got to lie and do stuff I don't like just to not talk to them more about that. Getting back to my anxiety problems, I got into a psychiatrist's. I've been gone at it for 1 year now, taking pills every day to change my segregation of serotonin in my brain that makes me anxious. It has been a good journey. My anxiety levels get to lower quantities, but I still have this existentialism thoughts that makes me question about the importance of me still studying just to get to continue with my life. I feel stuck since I got into university. Why do I need to study? Because my primal goal is to get into the space exploration. I would love to collaborate with the planet and humankind. Not just because of that, of course, but because I love the way the universe works and all the science behind it. And well, people, at the same time, seems like my life is perfect. I got a girlfriend that loves me, parents who care me a lot. I am almost to get 2 bachelor titles in different universities, and I'm very smart. But man, feeling stuck with my academic experiences for more than 15 years, since school, had made me think at levels I could never imagine. I am just now patient trying to live a good life while doing both universities, but man, this is the greatest challenge of my life. I'm tired of studying. I'm tired of thinking that I need a fucking title just to work. I'm tired that my parents have to pay for all my needs. I'm tired of being hours sitting thinking on what my life would be, thinking if goals ever will happened, if my life is important, if I'm not constantly wasting my time by being on university. I mean, this anxiety has made my quality of life low below 50% at least. Thank God I'm on medication, as I said, and I wanted to share with the world my experience of life, because it being easy economically talking, but man, all of my real problems are in my head and I can't help it. P number 1. When on my moments of existential anxiety, it helps to me a lot, is to hear deep music. Like 21 Pilots, favorite band. I mean, it makes me think that I'm not the only one with this problem. And also helps me to feel better, cause I have never get at levels that Tyler Joseph's mind and thoughts have got. P number 2. I had never had a panic attack by existential thoughts, but a lot because of the emetophobia. I am better now because of the pills. Less than 3 panic attacks in a year. Folded hands. Thank you for listening to my story. F. D. Teeth a goat. On a brisk August evening, the small town of Greenfield was bracing for what meteorologists were calling a historic weather event. The sky had darkened ominously, and the once calm breeze had turned into a wild, roaring gale. In the midst of the chaos, Donald Trump was visiting Greenfield for a campaign rally, having taken a detour from his usual political circuit to speak to a local audience. The storm began with a vengeance. It started with torrential rain, turning streets into rivers and making driving nearly impossible. Then the wind picked up, howling with a fury that rattled windows and shook trees. As Trump's motorcade approached the rally site, the weather took a dramatic turn for the worse. A tornado warning was issued just as Trump was about to take the stage. His team scrambled to find a safe location. They hurried him to a nearby community center, a sturdy brick building that had been designated as a storm shelter. Inside, the building was bustling with anxious citizens and emergency personnel. Trump, ever the showman, remained composed, trying to offer words of reassurance to those around him. The tornado touched down on the outskirts of town, its funnel cloud twisting and tearing through the landscape with terrifying force. The roar was deafening, and the building's walls vibrated as if in protest. Trump, usually the center of attention, took a moment to observe the chaos from a large window, his expression serious. He understood the gravity of the situation. In the shelter, people were huddled together, and the atmosphere was tense. Trump noticed a young mother with two children huddled close, their faces pale with fear. He approached them and, putting on a calm, paternal tone, began to speak with them. He spoke of resilience and hope, drawing on stories from his own life, weaving in anecdotes of overcoming adversity. His words had a soothing effect, and the mother managed a weak smile, their children's grip on her loosening slightly. As the tornado moved through town, it left behind a trail of devastation, but miraculously, the community center stood strong. The storm's fury seemed to relent as the night wore on. The winds died down, and the rain turned into a steady drizzle. The worst of the storm had passed. When the morning light broke through the clouds, the damage was evident. Downed power lines, splintered trees, and debris scattered everywhere. Yet, the community center had survived, and so had everyone inside. Trump, who had stayed the night in the shelter, emerged to survey the damage. He made a point of thanking the local emergency responders and volunteers who had worked tirelessly through the night. In the days that followed, Trump used his platform to highlight the resilience of Greenfield's residents. He praised their bravery and dedication to helping each other through the disaster. His visit became a symbol of hope and unity, and the town began to recover, slowly but surely, with the support of a nation rallying to its aid. The storm had tested many things: Trump's resolve, the town's fortitude, and the strength of the community's spirit. And in the face of nature's fury, Greenfield and its unexpected guest emerged with a renewed sense of purpose and solidarity. The diving incident. Woohoo! I yelled as I jumped off the 246 feet diving board. My pose was sitting in mid-air. Bang! I hit the concrete. Ouch! That hurt, I said as everyone rushed to help me. I landed on my bootylicious. That's going to leave a mark, one of the people said. Call in ambulance, yelled another. I laid on my back and closed my eyes, hoping the pain would go away. But it didn't. It grew worse, and I then started to click, 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 clack. I slowly opened my eyes. I was sitting in a wheelchair in front of the doctor. He was on his computer doing work. I groaned. Ah, my back. The doctor quickly turned around and faced me. Ah, you have finally woken up, he exclaimed. You have been asleep for 12 hours. I looked around and asked, why am I in a wheelchair? The doctor sat down looking quite sad. Well, you shattered almost every single bone in your body. You also came face to face with death, he told me. My jaw dropped, and I couldn't believe it. I'm going to have to get someone to drive me home, I said. The doctor grabbed his phone and asked, who do you want to take care of you for the next 6 months? I thought for a moment and decided. I told the doctor, my friend Andy. His number is 7806564088. The doctor dialed the number and the phone started to ring. The doctor held the phone up to my ear. Hello? Andy said. Hey, it's Yuri, what do you need? I need a ride home and you can take care of me for 6 months. Why? I shattered almost every bone in my body and can't take care of myself. Which hospital are you at? I don't know. Let me ask the doctor. Which hospital am I at? The doctor told me, Jamal's hospital for sick and hurt people. I'll be there in a couple of minutes. The doctor hung up the phone, turned around and started to do more computer work. I closed my eyes and started to hum my favorite song. I opened my eyes to find the doctor walking out of the room. Crack. Uh-oh. The doctor slipped on the wet floor and cracked his neck. That damn janitor forgot to put up the sign. What am I going to do? I can't check if he's alive. That's not good. Knock knock, Andy said while walking into the room. He saw the doctor on the floor. What did you do? Is he dead? I don't know. I answered. He slipped on the wet floor. Andy lifted the doctor's body and carried it to the emergency room. I waited in the doctor's office for a while. Finally, he returned and pushed the wheelchair out of the hospital into the car and started driving home. The car ride was dead silent until I asked, was the doctor okay? Andy sighed and turned around. No, he said. I sat quietly for the rest of the ride home. A couple of years later I was out of my cast and Andy had finished taking care of me. I went back to the diving board and climbed up the ladder. I looked from the top and contemplated if I should jump or not. It's worth a shot. I mumbled to myself. I prepared to jump by tightening my shorts. Okay, this is it. The world's biggest belly flop. I screamed as I fell. Belly first. I was falling for about 4 seconds. Smack. I hit the water so hard that my stomach got a cut and I turned purple. When I came up from underwater, everyone was cheering for me. Woohoo! Everybody hollered. I climbed out of the water and turned onto my back. People helped me get back on my feet. They said, smile. Suddenly there was a flash of light, and they took a picture. They walked me over to the medic and wrapped me in a bandage, rolled me into the ambulance and drove away. Woo hoo. Everyone cheered as I got taken away. FYI, I wrote this in the 6th grade. Boats. What I grew up to be. I remember when I was a kid, I once got beaten up real bad and no one ever came forward to save me. Then once when I was in my mid-teenage, I took charge of a bully who jumped up on one of my classmates. I did my best to save him, and he saved himself. But then the bully and his friends ganged up against me. I tried fighting them off. Luckily, no one started a fight or anything. A few moments later I turned my back and saw that no one stood behind me. That day, it hurt me a lot. I guess I expected a lot when I was younger, but when the maturity hit me I got the sense of the things maybe as a kid I saw in hell lot of movies. That the main character always had their friends having their back. I guess I wasn't a main character then or even now. I grew up, 25 years old now. I just know people. I don't consider any as my friends or anyone. More of the reality hit me when I went through a breakup, when my girlfriend of 8 years cheated on me with a guy, whom she introduced me as her brother. That was probably the worst phase of my life. I never trusted anyone that day since. So I grew up, and I guess I still don't have anyone who will be having my back even now. I stopped expecting as I said, life got less complicated with that shit. The 2 men on pillars. Once upon a time, there were 2 men standing on pillars of earth, surrounded by the sea, that they were building out of stones. These stones were being hauled up from the depths of the sea by the ropes they had on them. As they worked, one man called to the other, and quote, those are the wrong stones. Those stones that you have hauled up from the depths with the rope that you have on you are not the correct weight and shape. I am throwing stones back into the sea and you are only rolling them over the edge of your pillar. You are a stupid man and quote. As they continued to work, the one man, who was insulting the other, began to throw stones that he was pulling up from the depths, by the rope he had on him, at the other man who was rolling stones over the edge of his pillar. As he worked and Through stones, he noticed that his pillar of earth and stone was getting taller than the other man's pillar. The man called to the other man again. And quote, "That pillar is the wrong height. The pillar that you are making with the stones from the depths are not the right weight and shape, and your pillar is not as high as mine. You are a stupid man." And quote. As they continued to work, the man who was insulting the other noticed that his pillar was getting closer to the edge of the other man's. At the sight of this, the man lost his head. He stopped hauling up stones from the depths with the rope that he had on him and began to pick up stones from his own pillar to throw them down at the other man. Again he called to the other man. And quote, "You are a stupid man. Your pillar is getting too close to mine. The stones that you are hauling up from the depths with the rope that you have on you are the wrong weight and shape. Your pillar is not tall enough like mine, and your pillar is getting too close to the pillar that I have made." And quote. In his rage, the man throwing stones did not notice that as he picked up stones from his pillar and threw them at the other man, his pillar was getting shorter. He did not notice that the other man was taking any stones that were landing on his pillar and rolling them over the edge. Some stones were so heavy that they were embedded in the other pillar and made the surface rough. In his rage, the man threw every last one of his stones and fell into the sea. As the man fell, he reached out and grabbed the rope that the other man was using to haul stones up from the depths. As the one man fell into the abyss, the other lost his footing on the rough surface of his pillar and was pulled over the edge by the rope that he had on him. Both men fell into the abyss and were never seen again. The end. The offering. On a cold and dark night, a figure made his way into a broken, old, and decrepit building which had seen better days. Looking at its browning walls full of cracks and the barely standing pillars supporting it, one could never tell that it was once a celebrated temple of the chief of all creation gods, Vakma. The figure moved in darkness through the temple without an ounce of fear or unease, and it was easy to recognize a clear sense of purpose in his movements. Upon arriving at an entrance enclosed by a rotting wooden door surrounded by cobwebs and other signs of total abandonment, he finally stopped. He pulled out a peculiar contraption out of the weird baggy pants that he was wearing. The contraption looked like a common stopwatch, however the face of the object was a shining golden screen of the most precious glass, and it displayed symbols that were not the usual signs of time. The golden light coming from the object shined upon the face of the figure, and it was the middle-aged, brooding face of a man who could be considered handsome if not for the utter disregard he had for his appearance. He had an unshaven scruff on his face and hard eyes that conveyed only pain, sorrow, and loneliness. He seemed to confirm something from the object, and placed it into the inside pocket of the long coat he was wearing. He then proceeded to kick the entrance of the room, which was in a way a form of blasphemy, with zero regard for the significance of where he was and where he was about to enter. The door fell apart quite easily, and he covered his mouth and nose with his arm as the dust-broken wood and stale air wafted around him. He squinted his eyes into the room, which was darker than the rest of the temple, but as if he was a bat. Using echolocation, he managed to move through the room without much trouble. He finally arrived near a raised object and took out a matchbox and candle from the very same pocket he had taken out the earlier object, which was quite peculiar as it left no outlines that were visible to any person looking at him. He struck the match and lit the candle, and most of the room came into clear view. This was the room with the altar. There was no idol, however. There was a mural of all manner of animals and creatures flowing out from a golden light. This was a representation of how humanity knew that Vakma had been the source of them all, including their other gods. He placed the candle on the altar on a stand that was there expressly for that purpose. And then he put his hand into the very same magical pocket and pulled out what looked like a jewel, a sapphire that was the side of an apple. This kind of wealth could buy a life of luxury anywhere he went. He placed it into an offering tray on the altar. He then took out a dagger from his pocket and proceeded to cut his hand, and raised it over the tray. He let it flow for a minute, and then he whispered some words in a language no one knew, and the cut healed up. He then dropped to his knees and raised his arms in a supplicating gesture towards the altar. His low whispery voice spoke in a slow and enunciated way. And quote, "In the ways of people past, I call on the favor of the highest and benevolent God in the heavens, hear the prayers of your child, and grant me a boon that is worth my soul and entire being," and quote. After he finished his prayer, there was no sound or any indication of a manifestation. He raised his head to look for a sign but saw none. The look on his face slowly devolved from the desperate hope he had previously to a crippling despair, and when it felt like he was about to break down, he felt a caress on his cheek, almost like that of a mother, showing care for her child, or a lover to his intended in those silent moments where love bleeds through most. And quote, "It has been long since men have taken up the old ways in their petitions," and quote. A voice that was both thunderously powerful and also lovingly kind spoke to him, baffling even this kneeling man as to how such opposing natures could reach out to him simultaneously. And quote, "A worthy boon indeed to bring me the heart of a dragon, you are more than meets the eye, young one," and quote. Vakma spoke, referring to the sapphire gem the man had given as an offering. It was truly a gift, worthy of the chief among gods. And quote, "What would you ask of me, my child?" and quote. This time the thunderous voice subsided as the kind and almost maternal voice asked of the man's desire. The room suddenly burst into glorious light, and the man was enshrouded in a warmth that covered not only his body but it seemed even his mind and soul was touched to truly induce his deepest desire. Only one word rang out with surprising clarity: justice. Yes, he had come to the highest of the gods to petition justice against a god who had plagued him beyond what any could endure. He was here to take love to court. And quote, "So be it," and quote, Vakma declared to all of reality. NF, curse. I found out about masturbating a little later than most kids. One night I googled big boobs, and was enthralled by a picture of a cartoon women's large breasts. I paid attention to the dialogue and story as I was up all night watching this same video over and over. The main lady in the story cheats on her boyfriend with a bunch of guys. At the time I felt I knew it was an outlandish tale. That, as a cartoon, this was just as fake as people bending fire and controlling water. It wasn't until my second partner that my journey with trust started. It was a long-distance relationship, and loyalty was something that didn't even cross my mind. It was a no-brainer. Why would anyone want to cheat on someone they are dating, right? Sometimes I wish he had never told me that I'd live in blissful ignorance. I wonder if that wouldn't changed who I am today and the thoughts and conflicts that I have. The next year I thought that my stress and depression could be combated by another relationship. It was a girl I had asked out before who reached back out to me a year later. We matched each other's energies and it seemed like we were a perfect match. Sometimes I still think about what could have become of us. I convinced myself she was cheating on me. Part of me is still convinced, trying to justify a mistake I've made. Before going into my current relationship, I had talked to my mom about the troubles I had been having. She shared untold stories of her relationship with my father. I know it's silly, but I've thought about how maybe this struggle is something passed down through the family. Wouldn't that be tragic? Boats. Just a happy story for her. I picked her favorite flowers. I told myself, and quote, "Today I will confess my true feelings to her," and quote. But the fear of rejection surrounded me. Millions of questions raised in my mind. I started questioning myself. I already had texted her the place and time. She replied with, and quote, "Yes, but," she didn't knew it was a date. Character flashbacks. Scene, I still remember the first time I saw her, on a bus ride to college. She was laughing with her friend, her smile lighting up her face. Her eyes, deep and expressive, seemed to hold entire stories within them. Her hair, a cascade of midnight silk, shimmered with every movement. She had an effortless charm that captivated me instantly. I was shocked to know she was going to the same college as me. Joy filled my heart. I was curious in which department she is in, so I followed her to her class room. She was in the department medicine, whereas I was in the department of psychiatry. I was already overjoyed by the thought that I'll be able to see her every day in the bus. That was the first day of my collage. The 2-ND day. While waiting at the bus stop, the bus finally appeared. I went in, I saw her again. But today her friends were not in the bus, she was reading a book. I said to myself, I think I should go and talk to her. That's when I went behind her and sat. I asked to her, "Hi, in what department are you in?" Turning around slightly, looking up. She quickly replied, "Hi, I'm in Department of Medicine." Then I said to her, "That's nice, I am in the Department of Psychiatry." She said, "That's good. I am also very interested about psychiatry, have read the book Psychiatry by Neeraj Ahuja. I love that book." I replied, "Of course I have read that book. It is one of my favorite books, by the What's Your Name?" She replied, "Oh, my name is Medea." I replied with, "Medea, that's a beautiful name. It sounds Greek." She replied, "Yes, it is Greek." As we were talking, the collage came and the conversation stopped there. We both gave our goodbyes to each other and left for our classes. I was on cloud 9. After some classes I went to cafeteria for a refreshment. I saw Medea, she looked at me, waved her hand to me. I waved my hand too. After that I went to my classroom. After collage, I sat in the bus thinking I will sit with Medea this time. As I entered the bus I saw her friends sitting with her. I said to myself, next time I'll sit with her. I sat in a corner the day. From that day I started talking to her regularly. Present day. Date. I drew 4 sketches of her, hoping they would convey the depth of my feelings. I kept them in an envelope and carried them to the restaurant. I arrived 30 minutes early, fearing I might be late. As I sat there, my mind raced with anticipation and dread. At 6:30 p.m., Medea walked in, her presence lighting up the room. We greeted each other and took our seats. Throughout the meal, we talked and laughed, just like we always did. But tonight was different. Tonight, I would lay my heart bare. Out of nowhere, I pulled out the ring, my hands trembling. Her eyes widened in shock, and the room seemed to hold its breath. "I've loved you since the first day I saw you," I began, my voice shaking. "I can't forget the day we met on the bus. You've been on my mind every moment since." Her expression hardened, and my heart sank. Medea, eyeing him coldly, "Are you serious? Why would I ever want to go out with you? Look at yourself." Character, taken aback, hurt evident in his eyes. I thought maybe we could." Medea, cutting him off, "Save it. I wouldn't be caught dead with someone like you. You're nothing but a pathetic, ugly loser." Character, crushed, tears welling up. I'm sorry." Medea, rolling her eyes. "Yeah, you should be. Just stop embarrassing yourself. No one will ever want you." Character, trying to stop his tears. "I'm sorry for what I am." The laughter from the other diners felt like daggers. I gathered my envelope and left, my vision blurred by tears. After the date, Character lying on bed. That night, I lay in bed, unable to hold back the flood of memories. How could I even thought of a girl like Medea can be my girlfriend? Her looks, style, standard. I don't fit with her in any aspect of her life. I was always bullied for my looks. I should not forget that, never. Character, remembering his past. Character, from my earliest memories, I knew I was different. It wasn't just my face, it was the way people looked at me, whispered about me, laughed at me behind their hands. I tried to hide, to shrink into the background and disappear, but there was no escaping the cruel spotlight of their scrutiny. They called me names like unquat, freak unquat, and unquat, monster, unquat, their voices like knives slicing through my already fragile sense of self-worth. I tried to steel myself against their words, to build a fortress around my heart, but it was no use. Their hatred seeped into my bones, poisoning me from the inside out. High school brought with it a new level of cruelty, a darkness so deep and Suffocating, it felt like I was drowning. I looked in the mirror and saw only ugliness staring back at me. I tried to scrub away the stain of their hatred, to carve out a space for myself in a world that had no room for someone like me, but it was futile. Their words echoed in my mind, a never-ending chorus of condemnation that left me feeling small and insignificant. I found myself drawn to the siren song of oblivion. Suicide whispered sweetly in my ear, offering a release from the relentless torment of my existence. I stood on the edge of the abyss, the darkness yawning wide before me, beckoning me to step into its embrace and be swallowed whole. It would be so easy, I thought, to let go, to surrender to the void and leave behind the pain and the loneliness once and for all. Character snaps back to reality, sitting on his chair in front of his computer. Scene. The whole environment is dark black. The light of the monitor is blocking the character body, making it appear darker. The character pulled up a photo of media on his computer screen. Character opens the envelope, takes out the drawing which he made of media. Tears 3 drawing. In small pieces, bit by bit, rolls the 4-carat drawing, stuffs the small bits of the other 3 drawing. In the rolled up drawing, sticks the rolled drawing to make it a cigarette out the drawing. He finally lights on end of the rolled drawing. Smokes it fully, having tears in his eyes, recalling the time he say media for the first time. Tilde narrator tilde asterisk asterisk. The character takes a blade, lifts his left hand and writes the name of the girl on his left bicep with the razor. Blood rushes out of his bicep, but the character has finally become what the world wants him to become. Nothing more than desensitized, emotionless, painless animal, or maybe a pure sad human seeking a bit of love. Character's next move. The character takes a blade and stabs it in his heart. While the blade is in his heart, he also has some flowers in his hands. He takes a chair, places it underneath a hanging rope, stands on the chair, wraps his neck around the rope, pushes the chair, trying to fly. In this moment, character is flying, smiling, praying for me dear future to be beautiful as she is. I picked her favorite flowers, says the character, before flying. With these finals thought, the character leaves. Silence surrounds the room. Tilde narrator, tilde asterisk asterisk, happily. Oh, look, the character has left a note on his table. The camera slowly moves towards the table and zooms on the letter. Asterisk asterisk tilde, the letter says. Tilde asterisk asterisk, my madness took over my soul. I took my blade and stabbed it into you. Your hot blood creates a lake around my ugly body. I look at you straight in your eyes while my eyes are closed. You silently whisper curse upon my name. I tear up and watch you slowly slip away from life. I hold your hand, stained with blood, and whisper into it. Don't die on me. The freak, ugly guy. Tristan. Tilde narrator, tilde asterisk asterisk. Now that was a happy ending for her. Right? F. The Devil's Prodigy. Chapter 1. The tale of Zoovit, born into the celestial family of gods. Zoovit was the youngest of the great-grandchildren of the supreme deity, Etherion. He was known as the stubborn one, lacking the significant powers and responsibilities that his siblings and cousins had. The gods had no great purpose left to assign him, leaving Zoovit to wander the heavens without direction. Unlike his disciplined and dutiful kin, Zoovit roamed freely across the divine realms, playing pranks and avoiding responsibilities. He was a troublemaker, acting like a brat while everyone else had their duties to perform. One day, during his usual wanderings, he discovered a strange-looking door at the very edge of heaven. It was unlike any door he had seen before, and its presence intrigued him. He knew it didn't lead to Earth. The doorway to Earth was on the opposite side of the heavenly realm. As he approached, he heard faint screams coming from behind the door. Uneasy but curious, he decided to seek answers from his father. And quote, Dad, what's behind that door at the edge of heaven? And quote, Zoovit asked that evening. His father's expression darkened, and with a stern voice, he replied, and quote, stay away from that door, Zoovit. Never go near it, and quote. No one had ever commanded Zoovit in such a manner before. Anger flared within him at the prohibition. Determined to defy his father's orders, Zoovit resolved to uncover the mystery. The next day, driven by defiance and curiosity, Zoovit returned to the door. With a deep breath, he pushed it open and stepped inside. To his astonishment, he found himself in the fiery, torment-filled realm of hell. Hell was a stark contrast to the serene beauty of heaven. Zoovit wandered through the infernal landscape, watching souls being tortured and writhing in agony. Instead of feeling fear or pity, he found a twisted fascination in their suffering. He reveled in the chaos and pain that surrounded him. Suddenly, a massive demon emerged from the shadows, its grotesque form towering over Zoovit. The demon lunged at him, intending to tear him apart. In that moment, a surge of adrenaline coursed through Zoovit's veins, unlocking a power he had never felt before. Strength and fire erupted from within him. With a roar, Zoovit grabbed the demon by its neck and lifted it into the air. Flames burst from his hands, and he incinerated the demon, leaving only ashes behind. The rush of power was intoxicating. Unbeknownst to Zoovit, his display of strength had not gone unnoticed. From the depths of the shadows, his grandfather Lucifer, the devil, observed with keen interest. A sinister smile spread across Lucifer's face as he watched his grandson's transformation. And quot, interesting, and quot, Lucifer murmured to himself. And quot, very interesting, and quot. And so, Zoovit's journey into the depths of hell marked the beginning of a new chapter in his life, one filled with dark power, hidden potential, and the looming influence of his devilish grandfather. What lay ahead was uncertain, but one thing was clear: Zoovit was no ordinary god, and his destiny would be forged in the fires of hell. I'm writing a novel in anime genre. Is it a good place to post it? It's my first time writing something and I would love to get some feedback from people, and I'm so insecure about sharing it with my friends and family, so I want to share it somewhere where people doesn't know me in person. The story of Jabba Hutt 9.0. In the ethereal expanse of the cosmos, where celestial wonders danced amidst cosmic darkness, there existed a realm known as Venusia, a planet once teeming with life but now abandoned and desolate. From its surface, propelled by an unknown force, an extraterrestrial entity named Great Bengali embarked on a perilous journey to Earth. As Great Bengali's vessel hurtled towards the blue planet, its hull began to crack and warp under the immense pressure. In a cataclysmic explosion, the entity was ejected into the void, its body disintegrating and its memory shattered into oblivion. Unbeknownst to Great Bengali, fate had a peculiar plan in store for his shattered essence. As fragments of his consciousness drifted through the celestial tapestry, they encountered a group of earthly teenagers engaged in a summer expedition. Curiosity piqued, the youngsters cautiously approached the glowing remnants, unaware of the cosmic treasure lurking within. As they reached out to the debris, a miraculous transformation occurred. The amorphous fragments coalesced into the tiny form of a newborn infant. With no memory of its former existence, the baby's IQ plummeted to an abysmal 0. The teenagers, taken aback by the unexpected discovery, erupted in a chorus of laughter. "Look at this ugly, stupid idiot," scoffed one. "Let's call him Jabba," suggested another. And so, the cosmic wanderer was reduced to a mere curiosity, a hapless creature named Jabba. Time, however, proved to be an enigmatic force. As Jabba's age advanced to a decade, a flicker of his former brilliance began to emerge. Fragments of ancient knowledge, like flickering embers, reignited within his consciousness. With a surge of newfound awareness, Jabba realized the true extent of his cosmic heritage. A grandiloquent title rose from the depths of his memory: Lord of Poo-Poo. And with that, Jabba embarked on his reign of fecal supremacy. Exerting his newfound power, Jabba summoned a colossal torrent of excrement from the depths of his being. The once pristine earth was transformed into a malodorous wasteland, its surface blanketed in an ocean of poop. The hapless inhabitants, caught in Jabba's cosmic prank, were swiftly consumed by the putrid tide, their bodies melting into grotesque blobs of feces. Undeterred, Jabba proceeded to relieve himself upon the poop people, his urine cascading down like a golden shower upon his subjects. As the celestial urine saturated their forms, they contorted and mutated into a chorus of quivering jelly. Amidst the universal chaos, Jabba stood victorious, the self-proclaimed poopy dumpy. His reign of fecal dominance was absolute, a symphony of nonsense that echoed through the cosmos. And so, the once mighty Great Bengali, now reduced to a cosmic buffoon, reveled in his newfound absurdity, forever etched in the annals of intergalactic infamy as the Lord of Poo-Poo. Non-fiction. Drunk Jake. It was a Friday night and the bars were crowded with people looking to unwind after a long week. Among them was Jake, a young man in his mid-20s who had a penchant for partying a little too hard. As soon as he arrived at the bar, Jake wasted no time in ordering shots of tequila for himself and his friends. They clinked glasses and downed the fiery liquid, feeling the burn all the way down to their stomachs. As the night went on, Jake continued to drink heavily, not bothering to keep track of how many drinks he had consumed. The music was loud, the lights were flashing, and the alcohol was flowing freely. At some point, Jake lost track of his friends and found himself stumbling around the bar, struggling to keep his balance. He laughed loudly and obnoxiously, making a spectacle of himself as he swayed from side to side. As the clock struck closing time, Jake was still at the bar, barely able to stand on his own 2 feet. The bartender cut him off, saying he had had enough to drink for the night. Jake protested, insisting that he was fine and just needed one more drink. But the bartender stood firm, calling a cab to take Jake home safely. In his intoxicated state, Jake could barely remember his own address, let alone how to get there. He stumbled into the cab and slurred out his address, the words coming out in a jumbled mess. When he finally arrived home, Jake collapsed on his bed, fully clothed and still reeking of alcohol. He passed out almost immediately, the events of the night already fading from his memory. The next morning, Jake woke up with a pounding headache and a sense of regret. He vowed to never drink that much again, knowing full well the consequences of his reckless behavior. And so, Jake learned his lesson, at least until the next weekend rolled around and the temptation to party once again took hold. Weeks passed, and Jake found himself falling back into old habits despite his promise to himself. The allure of the nightlife and the thrill of drinking too. Excess proved too strong to resist. Each weekend, Jake would head out to the bars with the intention of having just a few drinks. But as the night wore on and the drinks kept coming, he once again found himself teetering on the edge of drunkenness. Friends would try to intervene, urging him to slow down and pace himself. But Jake would brush off their concerns with a dismissive wave, insisting that he could handle his liquor just fine. However, as time went on, Jake's excessive drinking began to take a toll on his relationships and his health. He would wake up with splitting headaches and a sense of shame, wondering how he had once again let himself spiral out of control. His friends started to distance themselves, tired of dealing with his drunken antics and unpredictable behavior. Jake found himself feeling more isolated and alone, his reliance on alcohol becoming a crutch to numb the emptiness he felt inside. Despite his best efforts to cut back on his drinking, Jake found himself in a constant cycle of binging and regret. He knew he needed help, but the thought of facing his demons head-on was too daunting to confront. And so, Jake continued to stumble through life, a shadow of his former self, trapped in a cycle of addiction and self-destruction. Each drink he consumed brought him further away from the person he once was, leaving him lost in a haze of alcohol and regret. As Jake's drinking habit continued to spiral out of control, it began to affect every aspect of his life. He started missing work due to hangovers, neglecting his responsibilities, and alienating those closest to him. His family expressed their concern for his well-being, urging him to seek help and confront his issues with alcohol. But Jake, stubborn and in denial, refused to acknowledge that he had a problem. He believed he could stop anytime he wanted, that he was in control of his drinking. However, as his behavior worsened and his relationship with alcohol became more destructive, Jake began to experience moments of clarity and self-awareness. He would look at himself in the mirror, seeing the sadness and emptiness reflected in his eyes, and wonder how he had let things get so far out of hand. One particularly low point came when Jake found himself alone in his apartment, surrounded by empty bottles and a sense of profound loneliness. He realized that he had been using alcohol as a crutch to numb the pain and insecurities he carried within him, but it was only serving to make things worse. Feeling overwhelmed and trapped by his addiction, Jake finally made the decision to seek help. He reached out to a therapist and attended his first Alcoholics Anonymous meeting, surrounded by others who understood the struggles he faced. Through therapy, support from loved ones, and the guidance of a sober community, Jake began the slow and challenging journey towards recovery. He confronted his past traumas and insecurities, learning healthier coping mechanisms and strategies to manage his cravings and triggers. Over time, Jake discovered a newfound sense of purpose and determination to reclaim his life from the clutches of alcohol. He embraced sobriety as a source of strength and empowerment, no longer hiding behind the false facade of intoxication. Although the road to recovery was long and arduous, Jake emerged on the other side a changed man. He rebuilt his relationships, repaired the trust he had broken, and rediscovered a sense of joy and fulfillment in sobriety. Jake's story serves as a reminder that even in the darkest of times, there is always hope for a brighter tomorrow. With courage, perseverance, and the willingness to seek help, anyone can break free from the grip of addiction and find a path towards healing and renewal. As Jake continued on his journey of recovery, he faced many challenges and setbacks along the way. There were moments of temptation and doubt, where the urge to drink again seemed overwhelming. But each time he faced such hurdles, Jake drew strength from the support network he had built around him. His family, friends, and fellow AA members stood by him through the tough times, offering encouragement, understanding, and a listening ear whenever he needed it. Their unwavering belief in Jake's ability to overcome his addiction served as a powerful motivator, pushing him to keep moving forward even when the path seemed daunting. Through therapy and self-reflection, Jake delved deep into the root causes of his alcoholism, confronting the underlying issues that had driven him to drink in the first place. He learned to identify his triggers and develop healthier coping mechanisms to deal with stress, anxiety, and emotional pain. As he embraced a sober lifestyle, Jake discovered a newfound sense of clarity, purpose, and self-respect. He began to prioritize his physical and mental well-being, adopting healthier habits and routines that nurtured his body and soul. Over time, Jake found solace in creative outlets such as painting, writing, and hiking, discovering new passions and interests that brought him joy and fulfillment. He also volunteered at local support groups, sharing his story of recovery and offering hope to others who were struggling with addiction. As the months turned into years, Jake's transformation was nothing short of remarkable. He had grown into a beacon of inspiration and strength, serving as a living testament to the power of resilience, determination, and the human spirit's capacity for change. Today, Jake lives a life free from the shackles of addiction, filled with gratitude, optimism, and a deep sense of inner peace. He continues to walk his path of recovery one day at a time, knowing that each moment of sobriety is a gift to be cherished and celebrated. Through his journey, Jake has learned that healing is a lifelong process, punctuated by highs and lows, victories and defeats. But with unwavering faith in himself and the support of those who love him, Jake knows he can face whatever challenges come his way with strength, courage, and the unwavering belief that a brighter future awaits him. As Jake's journey of recovery progressed, he found himself becoming a source of inspiration and support for others who were struggling with addiction. He became actively involved in mentoring and guiding individuals on their own paths to sobriety, offering his experience, empathy, and wisdom to help them navigate the challenges of recovery. Through his involvement in the recovery community, Jake discovered a sense of purpose and fulfillment that he had never experienced before. He found deep satisfaction in being able to make a difference in the lives of others, sharing his story of triumph over addiction as a beacon of hope and resilience for those still searching for their own path to healing. Jake also made a commitment to prioritize his mental and emotional well-being, enrolling in mindfulness and meditation practices to cultivate inner peace and mindfulness. These practices helped him to stay grounded in the present moment, fostering a sense of inner calm and clarity that he had once sought in alcohol. As he continued to grow and evolve on his journey of recovery, Jake began to explore new avenues of personal growth and self-discovery. He took up new hobbies, pursued further education, and embarked on adventures that challenged him to step outside his comfort zone and embrace the opportunities that life had to offer. Through it all, Jake remained steadfast in his commitment to sobriety, knowing that his newfound freedom from addiction was a precious gift that he had worked hard to achieve. He recognized the importance of staying connected to his support network, attending regular meetings, and reaching out for help when he needed it. As the years passed, Jake's transformation became complete. He was no longer defined by his past struggles with alcohol, but by the strength, resilience, and courage he had shown in overcoming them. He had emerged from the darkness of addiction into the light of recovery, a living testament to the power of perseverance, self-reflection, and the unwavering belief that a better life was possible for anyone willing to make the journey. Today, Jake lives a life filled with gratitude, joy, and purpose, knowing that each day is a precious gift to be cherished and embraced to the fullest. He continues to inspire others with his story of hope and transformation, proving that with determination, resilience, and a willingness to seek help, anyone can break free from the chains of addiction and embark on a journey towards a brighter, more fulfilling future. As Jake's journey of recovery unfolded, he found himself continuously surprised by the gifts that sobriety brought into his life. With a newfound sense of clarity and purpose, he embarked on a path of self-discovery that led him to explore new interests and passions. One of Jake's greatest joys came from reconnecting with his love for music, which had been overshadowed by his struggles with addiction. He dusted off his guitar and began to strum melodies that spoke to the depths of his soul. Music became a form of therapy for Jake, allowing him to express his emotions and experiences in ways that words alone could not capture. Inspired by his renewed creative spark, Jake started to perform at local open mic nights, sharing his music with others and finding solace in the healing power of connection through art. His songs resonated with audiences, touching hearts and souls with their raw honesty and vulnerability, and sparking conversations about the complexities of addiction, recovery, and the human experience. Through his music, Jake found a sense of catharsis and release, pouring his heart and soul into each chord and lyric, weaving a tapestry of his journey of healing and growth. His songs became anthems of hope, resilience, and redemption, inspiring others to find their own voices and embrace their unique paths to recovery and self-discovery. In addition to his musical endeavors, Jake also began to explore new avenues of personal growth and self-improvement. He delved into mindfulness practices, meditation, and yoga, cultivating a sense of inner peace and balance that anchored him in the present moment and allowed him to navigate life's challenges with grace and resilience. Through it all, Jake remained committed to his sobriety, recognizing that each day was a sacred gift to be cherished and lived to the fullest. He embraced life with a newfound sense of gratitude, finding beauty in the simple moments and treasures that surrounded him, and savoring the richness of each experience, no matter how small. As Jake's story continued to unfold, he became a beacon of hope and inspiration for others on their own journeys of recovery. and self-healing. His music, his words, and his presence served as a guiding light for those who were navigating the turbulent waters of addiction, showing them that there was always a way forward, a path to renewal and transformation, and a brighter tomorrow waiting just beyond the horizon. And so, Jake's story continues to resonate with all who hear it, a testament to the enduring power of resilience, the redemptive nature of healing, and the unyielding belief in the human spirit's capacity for growth, renewal, and transformation. Jake's journey of recovery was not without its challenges and setbacks. There were moments when he was tempted to retreat back into old habits, to seek solace in the familiar grip of alcohol. However, each time he faced such moments of weakness, Jake drew upon the strength he had cultivated within himself and the unwavering support of his loved ones to stay true to his commitment to sobriety. His perseverance paid off in ways he could have never imagined. As he continued to embrace a life free from the chains of addiction, Jake's relationships blossomed and flourished. He rekindled bonds with family and friends, forged new connections, and nurtured meaningful, genuine relationships based on trust, mutual respect, and empathy. Through his recovery journey, Jake discovered a newfound sense of purpose and passion. He became a vocal advocate for mental health awareness and addiction recovery, using his platform to raise awareness, destigmatize mental health issues, and empower individuals to seek help and support on their own paths to healing. Jake also found solace in giving back to his community, volunteering his time and resources to support organizations that provided assistance to individuals struggling with addiction. He organized fundraising events, led workshops, and shared his story of recovery in the hopes of inspiring others to seek the help and support they needed to reclaim their lives from the grips of addiction. As time passed, Jake's dedication to his own healing and growth continued to bear fruit. He achieved personal milestones, pursued his passions and dreams with renewed vigor, and embraced each new day as an opportunity for growth, learning, and self-discovery. Through it all, Jake remained humble, grateful, and grounded, knowing that his journey of recovery was not one he had traveled alone. He understood the power of community, connection, and empathy in the healing process and, as such, continued to pay it forward, extending a helping hand to those who were on their own journey towards recovery and self-empowerment. Today, Jake's story stands as a powerful testament to the transformative power of resilience, courage, and the unwavering belief in the capacity for change and growth that resides within each and every one of us. He continues to walk his path of recovery with strength, grace, and compassion, knowing that the journey towards healing is a lifelong one filled with infinite possibilities for growth, renewal, and transformation. As Jake's journey of recovery progressed, he found himself drawn to nature as a source of solace and inspiration. He spent hours wandering through forests, listening to the sounds of birds chirping and leaves rustling in the wind, feeling a deep connection to the natural world that mirrored his own journey of growth and renewal. Through his time spent in nature, Jake discovered a sense of peace and tranquility that helped him to stay grounded and centered amidst life's ups and downs. He found a profound sense of belonging in the vast expanse of the outdoors, realizing that the natural world held a healing power that transcended words and explanations. In the quiet stillness of the forest, Jake found moments of reflection and introspection that allowed him to connect with his innermost thoughts and feelings. He used these moments to process his emotions, confront his fears and insecurities, and find clarity and resolution in the midst of life's uncertainties. Inspired by the beauty and resilience of the natural world, Jake began to see parallels between his own journey of recovery and the cycles of growth and renewal that played out in the forests and mountains around him. He marveled at the way trees shed their leaves in the fall, only to bloom again in the spring, and saw in their transformation a reflection of his own capacity for change and renewal. Through his connection to nature, Jake found a sense of purpose and belonging that bolstered his commitment to sobriety and self-improvement. He pledged to honor the beauty and sanctity of the natural world by treading lightly on the earth, living in harmony with the environment, and appreciating the interconnectedness of all living beings. As Jake continued to immerse himself in the serenity of nature, he came to realize that his journey of recovery was not just a personal quest for healing but a profound spiritual awakening. He began to see his struggles with addiction as a test of faith and resilience, a challenge that had ultimately led him to a place of profound connection, growth, and self-awareness. With gratitude in his heart and a newfound reverence for the world around him, Jake walked his path of recovery with a sense of purpose and grace, knowing that the wisdom of nature would always be there to guide and nurture him on his journey toward wholeness and healing. And so, as Jake continued to embrace the beauty and tranquility of the natural world, he found peace, strength, and renewal in the embrace of Mother Nature, knowing that she would always be there to support and inspire him on his ongoing journey of recovery and self-discovery. As Jake immersed himself in the healing beauty of nature, he began to experience a transformation within himself that mirrored the cycles of growth and renewal he witnessed in the natural world. The serenity of the forests, the tranquility of the rivers, and the majesty of the mountains became his companions on the path to self-discovery and sobriety. With each step he took through the wilderness, Jake shed the weight of his past struggles, letting go of the burdens of addiction that had once held him captive. He found solace in the rhythmic beating of his heart, the steady flow of his breath, and the grounding presence of the earth beneath his feet. Reconnecting with his inner strength and resilience. Through moments of reflection and contemplation in nature's embrace, Jake confronted the demons of his past, faced his fears and insecurities head-on, and embraced his vulnerabilities with courage and compassion. He learned to forgive himself for his mistakes, to release the shame and guilt that had plagued him, and to approach each new day with a spirit of acceptance and grace. With the support of his loved ones, his community, and the healing power of nature, Jake embarked on a journey of self-transformation that led him to a place of profound clarity and purpose. He discovered a deep sense of inner peace, a resilient spirit, and an unwavering commitment to his own well-being and sobriety. As the seasons changed and the world The Last Oath, Part 1. Sorry for repost had to update. Name. Under the oppressive cloak of night, a lone figure, shrouded in darkness, urged his horse forward with desperate determination. The flickering torch in his hand cast feeble shadows, barely illuminating the treacherous path ahead as rain cascaded down in a relentless torrent. Despite the darkness and the storm, the rider navigated the familiar trail with practiced ease, each step a testament to years spent traversing the wilds between kingdoms in his youth. But tonight, the path was more treacherous than ever, choked with thorns that tore flesh and fabric alike. Cuts marred his hands and face, evidence of their frantic flight through the unforgiving wilderness. Yet, his loyal steed pressed on, her sides streaked with blood from cuts, but her determination unbroken. She had been his companion since she was but a colt, their bond unbreakable. Even in the face of pain, she would push on for her master. The horse, a majestic black mare named Jayla, possessed a grace and intelligence that made her more than just a beast of burden. She was a partner in every sense of the word. With a tender murmur, the rider soothed his faithful companion, promising respite just beyond the horizon. And quat, almost there, girl, and quat, he whispered, his voice a beacon of solace in the darkness. He stroked her neck gently, feeling the warmth of her blood mingling with the cold rain, a stark reminder of their mutual vulnerability. But fate, cruel and unyielding, had other plans. As the gates of the Lich Kingdom loomed into view, tragedy struck. With a final, valiant effort, Jayla faltered, collapsing beneath her rider with a cry of pain. The impact sent the man tumbling into the mire of the muddy road, his cries of anguish mingling with the howling wind and driving rain. The muck clung to his clothes and skin, making every movement laborious as he crawled toward Jayla, his heart shattering with each gasping breath she took. Helpless, he watched as his beloved companion took her last breaths. though grief threatened to consume him. Duty called, a solemn oath binding him to his kingdom even in the face of such great loss. He whispered a final farewell, closing her eyes with trembling fingers. And quote, rest now, jailer. Your service is done, and quote, he murmured, his voice barely audible over the storm. The creak of the gates opening drew his gaze, revealing the glowing eyes of the Lick General, their ethereal light piercing the night. As the rider struggled to rise, each movement a symphony of pain, his muscles screamed in protest, and the cold had seeped into his bones, but he could not afford to show weakness now. The Lick General stood 7 feet tall, a spectral figure clad in armor of bone and shadow. At first, only his skull and glowing eyes were visible, orbs that shifted in color with his ever-changing mood. Yet, as the rider stared, a faint outline of a face emerged, a ghostly reminder of the Lick's long-forgotten mortality. The face was a haunting visage, a relic of a time when the general had walked among the living. Removing his mud-soaked cloak, the rider faced the Lich General's piercing gaze, and quote, I seek an audience with the Lich King, and quote, he declared, his voice trembling with urgency, and quote, it is a matter of utmost importance, General, and quote, with a measured gaze, the Lick General regarded the horse, his expression inscrutable, and quote, may I have the horse, and quote, he asked, his voice devoid of emotion. A surge of defiance welled within the rider. His jaw clenched in frustration. And quote, you dare to ask for my loyal companion in my moment of grief, and quote, he retorted, his gaze unwavering in the face of the Lick General he had known since the age of 7. Memories flashed before his eyes, the day the general had saved him from in ambush, the training sessions that had honed his skills, the camaraderie that had grown between them despite the chasm of death that separated them. The general spoke again, his voice this time tinged with a poor attempt at comfort. And quote, we don't get many horses around here, as you know. She'd be a great addition to our collection. Besides, don't you want her to live forever, and quote. The rider's face froze so the general could not see his reaction. The rider took a quick deep breath and spoke in a stern tone. And quote, what would you do to her body, and quote. The general, looking away from the rider, spoke in his normal voice now. And quote, I will turn her into an undead horse. But we have to move quickly, her soul will leave her body soon, and I won't be able to bind it to her bones, and quote. As the last words left the general's mouth, devoid of emotion, 1,000 thoughts started to race through the rider's mind. The rider hesitated, torn between the revulsion of desecrating his friend's body and the hope of having her back in some form. His mind flashed back to all the great times he and his loyal mare had together, the narrow escapes, and the unspoken understanding between them. And quote, will she feel pain, and quote, he asked, his voice barely a whisper. And quote, no, and quote, the general replied, his gaze softening just a fraction. And quote, she will serve you. Once more, unburdened by the pains of the flesh, and quote, with a heavy heart, the rider nodded. Emily and Willow, our tale of tears and tales. Once there was a girl named Emily who lived in a bustling city where everyone seemed to be in a hurry. Despite the crowds that surrounded her, Emily felt like she was trapped in a world of her own making. She carried a heavy burden on her young shoulders, one that no one else could see. Emily's mother had passed away when she was just a little girl, leaving her and her father to navigate the world alone. Her father did his best to provide for them both, working long hours to put food on the table and a roof over their heads. But no matter how hard he tried, he couldn't fill the void left by Emily's mother's absence. As Emily grew older, she found solace in the pages of books, escaping into worlds far more colorful and vibrant than her own. But even the most enchanting tales couldn't chase away the loneliness that gnawed at her soul, leaving her feeling like she was adrift in a sea of strangers. Despite her longing for connection, Emily struggled to make friends at school. She was shy and withdrawn, her voice lost in the cacophony of voices that filled the hallways. And so, she spent her days wandering the halls alone, her heart heavy with the weight of her solitude. One rainy afternoon, as Emily walked home from school, she spotted a stray dog huddled beneath a shop yawning, its fur matted and eyes filled with fear. Without hesitation, Emily approached the trembling creature, offering it a gentle smile and a reassuring touch. In that moment, something stirred deep within Emily's heart, a flicker of warmth that she had long thought extinguished. She knelt beside the dog, her fingers tracing the outline of its shivering form, and whispered words of comfort into the stillness of the rainy afternoon. But as the days turned into weeks and weeks into months, Emily's bond with the dog only deepened, her heart opening up to a love she had never known before. They became inseparable companions, their days filled with laughter and joy as they explored the world together. But just as Emily began to believe that she had found her place in the world, tragedy struck. One fateful day, as they were crossing a busy street, a car came hurtling towards them, its headlights blinding in the glare of the afternoon sun. In a split second that stretched into eternity, Emily watched helplessly as the car struck her beloved dog, sending it tumbling into the street with a heart-wrenching cry. With tears streaming down her face, Emily rushed to the dog's side, cradling its broken body in her arms as she whispered words of love and comfort into its ear. But despite her desperate pleas, there was nothing Emily could do to save her beloved companion. And as she watched the light fade from its eyes, a part of her soul died with it, leaving her heartbroken and alone once more. From that day on, Emily carried the weight of her grief like a stone around her neck, her once bright eyes now clouded with sorrow. And though the world continued to spin around her, she remained trapped in a prison of her own making, her heart forever haunted by the memory of a love lost too soon. A melancholy melody. Ethan was a 15-year-old boy who lived in a small town where the skies were often grey and the days felt long. His home was filled with silence, broken only by the occasional argument between his parents. Ethan's refuge was an old, upright piano in the corner of the living room. Its keys were yellowed with age, and a few of them stuck when pressed, but to Ethan, it was a gateway to another world. Every day after school, Ethan would rush home, ignoring the laughter and chatter of his classmates. The moment he stepped through the front door, he would sit at the piano and let his fingers dance across the keys. Each note he played took him further away from the harshness of reality. In those moments, he was no longer a lonely boy in a broken home, he was a composer of worlds, a creator of beauty. His parents barely noticed his absence at the dinner table. They were too wrapped up in their own battles to see the quiet boy who was slipping away from them. Ethan's only real connection was with his piano teacher, Mrs. Collins, who saw the brilliance in his playing and the sadness in his eyes. She often stayed late after lessons, offering words of encouragement that Ethan clung to like lifelines. One rainy afternoon, Ethan returned home to find the living room empty and unusually quiet. His parents had been arguing again, but this time it seemed different. He walked over to the piano, his safe haven, and found a note taped to it. And quote, "We can't afford to keep this anymore. I'm sorry." And quote. His heart sank as he read the words. He ran his fingers over the familiar keys, playing one last melancholic tune. Tears blurred his vision, and the music came out in broken, stuttering fragments, mirroring the pieces of his heart. The next day, movers came to take the piano away. Ethan stood in the doorway, watching as they carried it out. The room felt empty without it, and so did he. The last note echoed in his mind, a lingering reminder of the world he had lost. Without his piano, Ethan's escape was gone. He returned to the grey reality of his life, where the days stretched on endlessly, and the silence was no longer filled with music but with the stark absence of it. He continued to drift through his days, a boy without his melody, hoping that someday, he might find another way to bring music back into his life. The Dollar General in the desert. The sun had just dipped below the horizon, leaving the desert in a twilight haze. For nearly 2 days, I had trudged through the endless expanse of sand, my throat parched and my skin blistering from the relentless heat. My water supply had run dry the previous morning, and every step now felt like a monumental effort. My legs were leaden, my mind a foggy haze. I could only think and quote, "Is this it? Is this how I die?" and quote. I stumbled, catching myself just before hitting the ground, and looked up. Through the gathering dusk and the swirling dust clouds, a faint, rectangular glow appeared in the distance. For a moment, I thought it was a mirage, another cruel trick of the desert, but as I blinked and strained my eyes, the glow remained steady. It was yellow, and as I squinted harder, I could make out lettering, $. General. Hope flickered within me, and I summoned the last of my strength to move towards the light. Each step was agony, my body aching and my vision swimming, but the promise of water and shelter kept me going. As I drew closer, the sign became clearer, its artificial light a stark contrast to the natural darkness around me. Finally, I reached the entrance. The automatic doors slid open with a soft hiss, and a rush of cool, conditioned air washed over me. Inside, the store was brightly lit and fully stocked. Bottles of water glistened invitingly on the shelves, and rows of snacks and other necessities stretched out before me. Relief surged through my body as I grabbed a bottle of water and drank deeply, the cool liquid soothing my parched throat. Being so desperate for a drink, the thought of paying first didn't cross my mind. It was then that I noticed the employees. At first, they seemed normal enough, dressed in the usual Dollar General uniforms. But as I looked closer, an unsettling feeling crept over me. Their movements were too precise, their smiles too fixed. One of them, a young woman with dark hair pulled into a tight ponytail, approached me, and quote, "Welcome to Dollar General," and quote, she said, her voice oddly flat and devoid of any real emotion. Her eyes bore into mine, unblinking. There was something unnerving about her, and as I glanced around, I realized all the employees were the same. They moved in unison, their expressions never changing, their eyes never showing any hint of life. And quote, "No, thanks," and quote. I managed to croak, my voice still raspy from dehydration. And quote, "I'm just getting some water," and quote. As I moved through the aisles, I could feel their eyes on me. Every step I took was echoed by the shuffling of feet behind me. I grabbed a few more supplies, some food, a flashlight, and a map. Each time I turned a corner, I found one of the employees standing there, too close, their vacant eyes tracking my every move. The young woman who had greeted me appeared at the end of the aisle, blocking my path. And quote, "Can I help you find something else?" and quote, she asked, her voice now carrying a hint of menace. And quote, "No, I'm fine," and quote, I said, trying to keep my voice steady. I turned to head for the checkout, but 2 more employees stepped into the aisle, closing in on me. And quote, "Are you sure?" and quote, another employee asked, his smile widening unnaturally. And quote, "We have everything you need," and quote. I nodded quickly, pushing past them and hurrying to the front of the store. The checkout was manned by an older man whose eyes followed me with intensity that made my skin crawl. He scanned my items slowly, his uncannily long fingers lingering on each one. And quote, "Thank you for shopping at Dollar General," and quote, he said, handing me my bag. And quote, "Why not stay a while longer? We have everything you need," and quote. And quote, "No, thank you," and quote. I muttered, taking my bag and heading for the door. Before I could reach the exit, another employee stepped in front of me. And quote, "Are you sure you want to leave?" and quote, she asked, her smile plastered on her face. And quote, "It's so dangerous out there. Why not stay here, where it's safe?" and quote. And quote, "I'm sure," and quote, I said, my heart pounding. I sidestepped her and rushed to the door, but the automatic doors didn't open. I looked back to see all the employees standing in a line, their eyes fixed on me, their smiles unwavering. "And quat, stay, and quat," they whispered in unison. Their voices low and insistent. "And quat, stay with us. And quat." Panic surged through me. I banged on the glass, desperate to escape. As if sensing my desperation, the doors finally slid open with a sluggish, reluctant hiss. I bolted out into the cool desert night, not daring to look back. The glowing sign faded into the distance as I ran, my breath ragged and my heart racing. I had found what I needed to survive, but I couldn't shake the feeling that I had narrowly escaped to fate far worse than the desert's unforgiving embrace. Time Stoppers, by A Friend Pulls Rate. Writ. Wish it was all over and done with. The man said as he exited the car. What was he talking about? He could be talking about any situation he is in or his job or everything. Will I ever know? Then all of a sudden it was over. Hello, my name is Adrian, and a few years ago it all began when I was playing baseball. I had just finished the game and then boom, everything froze except me. I was able to walk around and talk, but nothing else could. Until a man approached me. He said I had a choice: come with him or stay tucked away in time. Of course I chose to go with the man. Then I realized he had a briefcase, which surprised me. He had a fancy black suit and a bowler hat and flat black gloves. Then we were in a building full of people. It was like our office. Then the room went silent and everyone looked our direction, and they all continued their lives. A few minutes later I was asked questions. The first question was, did I have any questions? I said yes. Where are we? And who are you? The man then said, we are stuck in time, and he said we are the core of Kronos. Then I was given an outfit, one of their outfits, and was told to suit up. A few minutes later, done. I felt great being in this outfit, but today I hate being in it. But back to what happened. Then I was given a ring. Weird, but it was so I could time travel. Weird, right? But I was given a mission to prove I was worthy. The mission was simply to assassinate Lord Ethan Edwards. If I failed this task, I would be executed. As I arrived in the year 1788, Lord Ethan Edwards was rising to fame. As I infiltrated the castle, I was shot at. What, this isn't the century for weapons that fire rounds? Excuse me. Then I dived for cover, but was shot in the shoulder by an infamous commander of the Infinite Tranquility clan. As they came to check if I was dead, I was passed out, so they abducted me and took me back to their home. As this was happening, I was slowly dying. I woke up and was questioned again. This time, though I was tied up, they had asked me questions. The first was, how are you associated with the core of Kronos? I said I was at a baseball game, and then time froze and I was threatened to join them or I was going to be stuck in time forever. Then I was untied and told I could join them or be left to rot with the core of Kronos, and I figured they were the good guys, so I joined them and was given a new outfit. It was like the other one, but instead of being black, it was white. Then I was given a choice of my arsenal, so I chose the Justifier, which is a revolver, and then the End and the Beginning, which are two daggers who together make a devastating combo. I was able to keep my time traveling ring and was given a new one, which its power was to teleport to anything or anyone I could see by saying the word ghost. What I did not know, though, was that I was being tracked down and hunted by one of the most feared commanders of the core of Kronos. Their name was N3M3515A. Hacker. As I leave the office, there is a woman waiting for. I assumed she was my new partner until she asked to see my ring. Full of guilt, I show her. As she looks, I feel some suspicion, so I put my right hand in my jacket and pull out the beginning. She then portals away to a different time.